How does it feel to watch a championship dynasty crumble in real time, knowing that everything you believed about your team's dominance was just one catastrophic injury season away from complete collapse? The San Francisco 49ers faithful experienced this nightmare firsthand in 2024, and now one bold insider is proposing the most audacious three-move resurrection plan that could either restore their championship glory or become the most spectacular front office failure in recent memory. From dynasty dreams to injury-worn nightmares just 12 months ago, the 49ers were the NFL's golden franchise, 3 consecutive NFC championship appearances, 2 Super Bowl showings in 5 years, and a roster so loaded with talent that opposing coaches probably lost sleep scheming against them. Fast forward to 2024, and San Francisco looked more like a medical emergency than a football team. The injury list reads like a who's who of franchise cornerstones: Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Aiyuk, Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, Dre Greenlaw, Charvarius Ward, Talanoa Hufanga. This wasn't just bad luck. This was the football gods delivering a masterclass in humility to an organization that thought it had figured out the championship formula. But here's where the story takes a fascinating turn. Veteran Bay Area sports reporter Larry Krueger believes the 49ers aren't just salvageable. They're exactly 3 trades away from hoisting their first Lombardi trophy since 1994. Not 3 seasons of rebuilding, not 3 years of development, but 3 calculated moves that could transform last year's disaster into this year's championship celebration. The Aiyuk Exodus. Trading heartbreak for championship hardware. Krueger's most shocking proposal centers on Brandon Aiyuk, the all-pro receiver whose fall from grace has been more dramatic than Shakespearean tragedy. The suggestion? Trade him to Washington for Terry McLaurin in what Krueger calls a win-win scenario that could benefit both franchises and, more importantly, give Brock Purdy the reliable weapon he desperately needs. Let's be brutally honest about Aiyuk's situation. After signing a 4-year, $120 million extension that made him one of the highest-paid receivers in the NFL, his 2024 season was an unmitigated disaster. 7 forgettable games followed by a torn ACL that not only ended his season, but raised serious questions about his future effectiveness and durability. Meanwhile, Aiyuk's public flirtation with reuniting with former Arizona State teammate Jaden Daniels in Washington has created the kind of distraction that championship-caliber teams simply cannot afford. When your $120 million receiver is openly pining for another team, it's time to explore your options. Enter Terry McLaurin, the epitome of professional consistency, who has quietly assembled 5 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons while playing with revolving door quarterbacks that would make most receivers demand hazard pay. At 29, McLaurin is 2 years older than Aiyuk, but he brings something more valuable than youth: reliability when it matters most. McLaurin's 2024 season was a masterpiece of efficiency. Career-high 13 touchdowns and another 1,000-yard campaign despite playing for a Washington team that was still figuring out its identity. More importantly, he represents the kind of mentor figure that could accelerate the development of rookie Ricky Pearsall while providing Purdy with the steady target he needs to reach his championship ceiling. The Ramsey rescue mission. Mining Miami's dysfunction for Gold Krueger's second masterstroke involves exploiting Miami's organizational chaos to acquire disgruntled Pro Bowl cornerback Jalen Ramsey for what he optimistically suggests could be as little as a 6th-round pick. While that price tag seems unrealistically low, the underlying strategy is brilliant. Take advantage of the Dolphins' salary cap desperation to acquire a future Hall of Famer at a discount. Ramsey's Miami tenure has been a case study in how quickly NFL relationships can deteriorate. Once viewed as a cornerstone of their secondary, he's now become a luxury they can't afford and a headache they're eager to offload. For San Francisco, this represents the kind of opportunity that separates aggressive front offices from conservative ones. The schematic fit is almost too perfect. Ramsey could immediately step in as an outside cornerback, allowing Diamador Lenore to return to his natural slot position, where he's been most effective. The move would also provide crucial veteran leadership to a secondary that got repeatedly exposed in 2024 while giving rookie up-and-stout time to develop without the pressure of immediate contribution. But Krueger's vision goes beyond traditional position assignments. He suggests Ramsey could also contribute at safety, creating the kind of defensive versatility that gives coordinators nightmares to game plan against. Having a player who can seamlessly transition between cornerback and safety roles transforms defensive packages from predictable to devastating. The Cincinnati Heist. Stealing Stewart from contract purgatory, Kruger's most ambitious proposal involves capitalizing on Cincinnati's contract standoff with first-round pick Shemar Stewart. The 17th overall selection in April's draft remains unsigned due to disagreements over his rookie contract, creating a potential opportunity for San Francisco to acquire a premier pass-rushing talent at a significant discount. The proposed trade package: Robert Beal, a 2025 second-round pick, and a conditional 2027 fourth-rounder, represents substantial value for a player who was selected in the top 20 just months ago. But Cincinnati's August 5th deadline to sign Stewart creates the kind of desperation that leads to favorable deals for opportunistic teams. Stewart paired with Michael Williams would create a pass-rushing tandem that could terrorize opposing quarterbacks for the next decade. More importantly, acquiring Stewart would take significant pressure off Nick Bosa, who has been carrying the defensive line's pass-rushing burden almost single-handedly since arriving in San Francisco. The beauty of this potential acquisition lies in both immediate impact and long-term value. Stewart would provide elite production on a rookie contract, giving the 49ers salary cap flexibility to address other roster needs while building a foundation for sustained defensive excellence. The championship chemistry equation, what makes Kruger's three-trade blueprint so compelling, isn't just the individual talent acquisition. It's how each move complements the others to create a championship ecosystem. Trading Aiyuk for McLaurin provides veteran stability and reliability. Acquiring Ramsey shores up the secondary while adding defensive versatility. Stealing Stewart creates a fearsome pass rush that elevates every other defensive player. The timing couldn't be more perfect. Brock Purdy just signed a massive 5-year, $265 million extension, officially establishing him as the franchise quarterback around whom everything else must be constructed. These three moves would surround him with exactly the kind of talent that transforms good quarterbacks into great ones and great quarterbacks into champions. But perhaps most importantly, executing these trades would send a clear message to the entire organization. The 49ers aren't content to hope their injured players return to form or their young players develop faster than expected. They're taking control of their championship destiny through aggressive, calculated roster construction. The all-in mentality lets acknowledge the risks inherent in Kruger's master plan. Trading Aiyuk means betting that his injury problems are permanent, while potentially giving up on a receiver who could return to all-pro form. Acquiring Ramsey means taking on a player who's already demonstrated he can become disgruntled when things don't meet his expectations. Pursuing Stewart means surrendering significant draft capital for a player who's already creating contract complications. But championship teams don't succeed by playing it safe. They identify opportunities, calculate risks, and make moves that less ambitious organizations wouldn't dare consider. The 49ers have been knocking on the championship door for half a decade. Maybe it's time to kick it down rather than politely waiting for someone to answer. The redemption verdict Kruger's three-trade blueprint represents the kind of bold thinking that separates championship teams from perpetual almosts. Rather than hoping last year's injury catastrophe was an aberration, San Francisco could actively reshape their roster to maximize their remaining championship window with an aging but still elite core. The 49ers have proven they can build championship-caliber rosters through traditional methods. Now they have the opportunity to prove they can also rebuild them through aggressive market exploitation and strategic opportunism. With the right moves, last year's nightmare could become this year's championship foundation. The question isn't whether these trades make sense in a vacuum. It's whether San Francisco has the institutional courage to execute the kind of franchise-altering moves that could define their next decade. Sometimes the difference between championship and mediocrity comes down to a front office's willingness to act decisively when opportunity presents itself. What do you think about this championship resurrection plan? Are these the kind of aggressive moves that finally push the 49ers over the top? Or is Kruger proposing too much risk for uncertain reward? Share your thoughts in the comment below and hit that like button if you're as fascinated as I am by these franchise-defining decisions that could completely reshape the NFC West power structure.